In Part 4 of Lecture 1, we will discuss file processing commands. There are rules that govern file names, although these rules are less stringent than the rules in DOS were. On older systems, there were cases where file names were limited to 14 characters. This was because there was a finite number of character spaces set aside in the directory for the file name. Unix and Linux are both case-sensitive, meaning that capital A and little a are different characters. That means that junk in lowercase, junk with a capital J and otherwise all lowercase, and junk in all capital letters were three completely different file names as far as the operating system is concerned. This simplified the interface because it didn't need to convert every keystroke into either caps or lowercase. File names should not have unprintable characters like \h or characters of special meaning, but they can. However, it is a terrible idea to use these in a file name, but you could if you were that foolish. The following 6 commands are very helpful, and everyone working on a Linux system will use them from time to time. WC stands for word count, but it actually counts characters, words, and lines of text. It assumes that a word is any character sequence not separated by whitespace. And of course, whitespace refers to blanks, tabs, and new lines. grep stands for General Regular Expression Programs. It will recognize specified text and only print the lines that contain that text. Sort will sort lines of text within a file. Tail prints the last 5 lines of text or whatever number of lines you specify, if you specify it. Compare compares 2 files, printing the first pair of lines that differ. Diff compares 2 files and prints each pair of lines that differ. On this slide, we are using ed to create a file called poem. After I enter ed, I type A and hit the enter key. After entering the text of the poem, I press period at the beginning of the line, and pressing enter, I am back in command mode and type W poem. You can see that the poem has 257 characters. Typing 3P returns me to line 3 and displays that line. I then type s/lesser_fleas/lesser_fleas, /. This will find the next occurrence of lesser fleas and replaces it with lesser fleas followed by a comma. This is all on one line, so P displays the changed line. Since I saved the file under a given name, I only need to type W to save it again. Typing WC tells me that there are 8 lines, 47 words, and 258 characters in my file. The format for grep is the name of the command, followed by the text you seek, and then the name of the file or files. Yes, you can use this command on more than one file at a time. In our first example, I typed the name of the command, grep, and then the text to be found, fleas, and the name of the file afterwards, poem. In our second example, I type -v, 1 space after grep. This option displays the lines not containing the text. Sort will display the lines of the file in sorted order, based on the collating sequence, or by ASCII values. It ignores blank spaces and case, as you can see here. New poem is a little different from poem. The second line ends with the word them instead of the contraction When you run compare, it picks up that difference, telling us that the first difference is at byte 57 and that is counting from the beginning of the file, which is on line 2. Tail normally prints the last 10 lines of a file, but if you write tail space -2, it will print only the last 2. And that can work for any number as long as you have that many lines in the file. Tail space -n followed by a number also works. Tail space -n space 3 will print the last 3 lines. But tail space -n space +3 will print the file starting at line 3. It's a handy little tool. Diff also compares files, but what it produces is different. It shows every pair of lines where the files are different. If these details are important to you, and they can be, this can be extremely useful. At the top of the slide are 6 different instances of ls. ls by itself lists the files in the current directory. If you include the name or names of one or more files, it will list them if they are in the current directory. It also illustrates 4 options with ls. -t will list files in reverse chronological order with most recent first. -l gives the long listing, which we spoke about earlier. -u lists them based on when they were last used. And -r lists them in reverse order. These can be used in any combination that the user finds helpful. ed followed by a file name will allow the user to edit the file. cp file1 file2 will create a copy of file1 under the name file2. mv file1 file2 will rename file1 as file2. And rm file names will delete the specified files. Cat file name will display the file's contents. PR will display the file in a more printable format. PR space -number will display the file in that number of columns. And PR space M file names will display the files side by side. WC will give you the count of bytes, words, and lines in a file. WC space -L will only give the count of lines. grep pattern file names will print the lines in the files containing the pattern, while grep space -V pattern file names will give you the lines without the pattern. Compare will print the first pair of lines differing between 2 files. Diff will display each pair of differing lines from both files.